Hi everyone, this is David. We'll wait a couple minutes to get started for our Facebook Live Density Lab. So we'll just hang out for a couple minutes. Playing around with some things in a jellyfish tank today. So the jellyfish are still here and they're anxiously waiting for when you guys come back and visit them in the museum again. I know that they're anxious to have you guys come back and play with them. They're lonely here. They don't get as much attention when we're here. Maybe we can do a race while we're waiting. On your mark. Get set. Go. Oh, pink. Pink just destroyed the green one.
10:30.
Great. All right, well, we're going to get going in here. I just want to welcome everyone to our Kohl's Kids Live. My name is David. I am the Director of Exhibits here at the Kohl Children's Museum. And what I wanted to do is pick up a little bit on what Vito talked about if you watched him on Monday, playing and pretending with water. And so we are here in our Waterworks exhibit now. And I want you to see if you can remember when you're outside and if you ever took a rock and maybe a stick, and if you threw them into the water, how they acted differently with the water. So let me see if you can remember. What do you think is going to happen when I put this rock in the water? It's going to sink. All right, here we go. Let's test it out. Here it goes, just like we predicted. Our little stick, our little log here, made out of wood. I'll see if I can make it go down. Nope. It's bobbing up and down. So we have one of them that sank, and we have one of them that was floating. How come? Why are they so different? Well, one of the things that I want to talk about is this word that maybe you have heard of, or maybe not. It's a new word for the day. It's called density. Density, what is it? Well, density is basically how many molecules or how much stuff is inside an object. I'm going to put this in parentheses. So we know, just from our own experiment and your own experience, that one of them has more stuff inside of it than the other. That's why one of them is floating. So if I'm going to pretend that these marbles are like the amount of stuff that's inside water, I'm going to put them right here in this little glass. So this glass of marbles represents how much stuff that is made up of water. Okay? I have these ping pong balls, and I want you to pretend that these ping pong balls are like the log, the stick that's there. Okay? If we look to see how much stuff is inside that log, let's compare it to the water. One of them's got a lot less in there, right? So if this is our water and this is our log, there's less stuff in here. This means that it is going to float. Let's check out our rock. So these little sand pebbles here represent the rock. And if I pour my sand pebbles inside the glass, this represents the density, or how much stuff is inside the rock. When we compare the two, right, here's our water, and then here's our rock. This rock has a lot more stuff inside of it than the water does, right? So if there's more stuff in here than the water, that means our rock is going to sink, right? All right, now it's time to experiment. We're gonna have some fun. I brought out a cart full of stuff over here. Maybe some of you saw the teaser and the post that we had in earlier. But these are some of the things that I brought out here today that we're gonna check out. Some stuff you might recognize that you have at home. In fact, if you've been at the museum before, I know that you've come across these things before here. In our waterworks exhibit, we have these little plastic balls and we have these little boats in here. So we use these for our little Archimedes screw, and then this is for the little float tank where you can build your own boat and see how it floats around. So let's go ahead and try those in here, right? So what I want you to do is, we'll make this into a game. Before I put something in the tank, I'm gonna ask you if you think it's going to float or if it's gonna sink. If you think that an object is gonna float, like we know the ball is gonna float, right? Because we've seen this before, that this ball is gonna float, I'm gonna ask you your opinion, what you think might happen, or make a prediction. And I want you to give me a thumbs up if you think it's gonna float. And I want you to give me a thumbs down if you think it's gonna sink. Sound good? All right. We'll just toss these in there just to get the ball rolling. Pun intended. There's our little ball. Here's our little foam boat. So don't forget, if we're thinking about density in here, which one of these cups compared to water do those represent? This one, right? Yeah. This one's got less stuff in it. It's less dense than water, so it's gonna float. All right, let's check out, here's a little measuring cup. It's made out of plastic. It has a scoop in here. So let's see what happens when I tuck it in here. I'm gonna place it in there gently. So far it's floating. But what happens when I completely submerge it? Oh, it still floats, right? So that means it is less dense than water. All right, on to the next object. Let's check this out. Here's a big bolt that we have back from our shop. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's gonna float, or give me a thumbs down if you think it's gonna sink. All right, let's see. Whew. That was pretty quick. Must have been very dense. Let's check this one out. I'm not sure about this one. This is just a regular rag that we have in here. So it's a cloth rag. Thumbs up if you think it's going to float, or thumbs down if you think it's going to sink. Let's check it out. What is your prediction? It's going down, right? Very, very slowly. So maybe the molecules or the stuff inside that cloth are kind of close to what the water is. They're almost equal, but definitely more inside the cloth because it sank. Let's check this one out. Bears football. Go Bears. Let's see if this is going to float, like hopefully this new season, or if it's going to sink like the last couple of years, unfortunately. All right. Put. Way, way better accuracy than Trubisky, right? I don't know. We'll see. There it is. So it's sitting there floating away. I'll try pushing it under, and it pops right back up again. So this is much less dense than the water is. Here's a good one. So this is a little bristle block. You might have these at home that you played around with to build some stuff before. So I'm going to go ahead and put one of these in there. Thumbs up if you think it's going to float, and thumbs down if you think it's going to sink. I'm not sure. Let's see. let's check out your prediction. Ooh, there's background effects right there. All right, here's our bristle black. Pop back up here again. How about this? I got another question for you as an expansion on that one. What if, instead of one bristle block, I put this whole bunch of bristle blocks in there? There's a lot more of them now. Do you think it's going to float? Or do you think it's going to sink? And here we go. Oh, wow. Even though there's more of them, it's still floated. So that tells me that all the bristle blocks, no matter how many there are less dense than the water, which makes it float. Let's try this one. Here's a good one. Good old-fashioned clothespin. So we remember from the wood log, the wood was floated, right? But it also has a little piece of metal in here. But the metal sank. So this one has some wood and it has some metal. So give me a thumbs up if you think it's going to float, and give me a thumbs down if you think it's going to sink. I don't know, we'll see. Here we go. What's your prediction? Ah, floated. Did you guess right? Good. Next one. This is pretty cool. This is a ginormous rubber band right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Thumbs up if you think it's going to float. Thumbs down if you think it's going to sink. What's your prediction? Here it goes. It floated down. So just like the cloth, still more dense than the water is, so it sank. Oh, here's a good one. How about this? Apple. Have you ever gone bobbing for apples? Let's see. Popped right back up again. Have you been to car garage before? We have these little cars in our car ramp so that you can race them down there before. I took this out today. I want to see if it's going to float or if it's going to sink. So this it's mostly made of plastic, and it has a little bit of metal on there. A little bit of metal on the axles. What's your prediction? We'll make sure all the air is out of it. I don't want anyone to think that I'm cheating. Yeah, there it goes. It sank. Did you guess right? Good. Next is, I'm going to try this one. A little metal bowl. We use this in our pet bed area for feeding the little animals that we have in there. We'll give it a try. Made out of metal. Let's see. It floated. Oh, wait. You want me to submerge it? All right, I'll try it out. We'll get it all submerged. Yeah, there it goes. All the way down. Have you been to our Nature Cat exhibit? Well, we had these little plastic boots in there, these little rubber boots. And we had these in there to show kids how Daisy would use objects like this to make little gardens out of. So you don't have to have a big space for a garden, you can have a small little area. And it's kind of cool to repurpose things. So like Daisy had an old boot, she wanted to turn it into a container for her garden, and there she used it. So, in fact, there was a little rabbit on there for Daisy. Let's see what this does. Thumbs up if you think it's going to float. Thumbs down if you think it's going to sink. Let's see, what's your prediction? And I'll soak it with water, submerge it so that you don't think I'm cheating in here. All right, we're going to get all the air out of here. There we go. Sank right down on the bottom. Did you guess right? Good. Couple more. All right. So I have 2 golf balls. One of them is made of plastic, and one of them is a real golf ball. Do you think they'll be the same or different? What's your prediction? Let's see. I'll put them in at the same time. You can help me count down. 3, 2, 1. Ah, the real golf ball sank, and the little plastic one floated. I got another question for you. What if that plastic golf ball, what if it's got holes in it though? Do you think it's going to still float? Let's check it out. Ah, still floats. So maybe if someone in your family golfs and they hit the ball into the water, you should tell them maybe you should use a plastic ball because then you can still find it and you won't lose it so much. Got a couple more left. This one right here, good old-fashioned bowling ball. It's a real bowling ball. It is 10 pounds. I'll give you that much. And let me know if you think that this is going to float or if it's going to sink. All right, let's test it out. What's your prediction? Here we go. Oh, it floated. Wait a minute, some of you might be saying there's air bubbles in the finger holes. All right, so I'm going to go here, all the air is out of it. Whoa. This bowling ball is floating, which tells me that it is less dense than the water. But what I want you to think about, there are other properties that make this float too. And it's kind of like if you think about a big ship in the water, like a giant cruise ship or a huge aircraft carrier. They're really big and they're really heavy, but they can still float, right? That's the same principles as this bowling ball. Pretty cool, huh? All right, last 2. I have 2 cans, I have 1 Coke. We are not sponsored by Coca-Cola products, but I just picked this up. 1 regular Coke and 1 Diet Coke. All right, let's see if they're the same or they're different. All right, we'll try the regular Coke first, okay? There we go. Make sure all the air bubbles are out of it. And see if it... Ooh. Sinking kind of slow again. So that tells me that that can of Coke is more dense than the water. Let's see what the Diet does too. Should be the same, right? They're both Coke. All right, here we go. Oh, interesting. The Diet Coke can floats while the regular Coke can sinks. I wonder why. So what I want you to do is to help me out. After this is over, sometime today, what I want you to do is go online and search to see if you can figure out how come the can of Coke sank to the bottom and the Diet Coke floated. And then when you find out the answer, if you think you know what the answer is, come back to this post and put in the comments section what you think that answer might be. And then later tonight, what we can do is we'll go ahead and we'll post what the answer is and see if you got it right or not. So you can be scientists and do a little bit of research to help us out too. All right? Just real quick, what I wanted to do is I wanted to give a quick little shout out to our super fans, Keaton and Layla and TJ, and I wanted to wish a special happy birthday to my daughter Amber. And if anyone can reach out to us and share this as much as possible, we'd appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay curious, and if you can excuse me for a moment, I'm going to go ahead and I got to get all this stuff back out again. So I need to go get all this stuff out of the bottom. Bye, everybody.